r/AskReddit not safe for work. How did your affair start? She found a tank top in the laundry that wasn't her size. She threw it at my face, said I hope she was worth it, and stormed off. Turns out it was her shirt that I shrunk because I'm bad at laundry. Nice try, honey. She knows. Don't mind me just looking for my dad's comment. She started telling me about relationship troubles. We grew closer over time, sharing insecurities and whatnot. Eventually we developed feelings, on which we could not act. Eventually, those feelings became too strong and we caved. It lasted for 1,5 years, me trying to commit to this new thing we developed, her not completely able to let go. She jumped between me and the other. Eventually I realized my committing to and feeling for her were unhealthy. And I realized, too late, that I didn't want to be the person that made someone else cheat. My wife found a hairband on the living room floor that wasn't hers. We don't have daughters and no female friends/family had visited in quite a while. Thankfully she trusted me so I didn't get a crazy accusation like yours, but it was definitely a weird awkward mystery for a while. Then a couple weeks later I was telling the story to some friends and my buddy who sometimes comes over to watch football goes, "Oh yeah, that's probably my daughters. I keep them in my pockets for her and it probably fell out when I was over for the game." Mystery solved. Oh man, what a relief to have some closure, as it was not a good feeling having zero explanation for it. She walked onto my side of our shared balcony. I led her inside. She stayed a little while. She started coming over more often, nearly daily. So I started buying her some snacks, some toys. We'd spend as much time as we could before my neighbor noticed she was with me. Rainbow, I miss you XX. People will do anything for pussy. Reminds me of my ex Bill. He had it all. And lost it all. Just in case he's still reading my comments, hi Morgan. Merry Christmas, you fucking dodgy wanker. Why are you still snooping through my Reddit ? All my homies hate Morgan. Fuck you Morgan. My wife let a friend borrow a hooded sweatshirt one evening while she had a fire and a few friends over. Her friend washed said hoodie and returned it. My wife washes it because she doesn't like her fabric softener. There was a pair of her friend's underwear stuck in the sleeve of the hoodie that came out in our washer machine. I get home from working and she accused me of cheating after a massive fight, and me racking my brain she called her friend and confirmed it's her black thong. When my wife found a napkin in my pocket and swore it was not her lipstick. I had no idea how it got inside my pocket. After months of her thinking I was cheating, at lunch one day I was eating a sandwich and drinking a red Gatorade. After wiping my mouth with the napkin, I realized it was the same shade as my evidence of an affair napkin. Was once accused of cheating. Front passenger seat on my car was moved too close for any guy to sit in. My then GF demanded to know who I'd had in my car. I told her it was Chris, a coworker. She came storming into my company the next day, demanding to see Chris. Imagine her face when she found out Chris was Christopher, a little person. He stood 4 feet 2 inches. I milked her apology for a decade. I was stuck in a non-physical marriage with a hoarder. Rats were living in the dryer, as example, who didn't keep up with house repairs. Spent 4 months drinking bottled water because the well wasn't safe without work. Couldn't get out because I was 20 kilometers from anywhere. Was given a car that didn't run. Coworker usually picked me up for work, or I walked to the closest carpool lot. Cracked under the lonely stress when coworker found me attractive. Turns out my ex was really closeted, hence the hoarding and inability to function. I wasn't running on all cylinders after all that either. He's got a roommate now. The house is fixed. I'm still with coworker after 10 years and we all get together so often. Prime example of people who really shouldn't have been married in the first place. I met a married lady while at Myrtle Beach. She was in a crappy marriage. Pina colada or 2 later we were talking. Yada yada. Ended up together for several years. I felt a little bad about the beginning situation, but it was the best years of my crappy life. And hers, I think. Miss her every day. Second wife cheated on me with her girlfriend and then another guy. Didn't bother me because we were in a bad marriage. Now, I'm happily single again. We met at work and started having threesomes with my wife. One thing led to another and we started hooking up without her. Thankfully my wife forgave me and we were able to reconcile. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. If you're considering cheating, let me assure you, you will either get caught or, hopefully, be so consumed with guilt that you will rat yourself out. Damn, your wife's cool. She's single? Doesn't seem to matter by the looks of it. Laugh out loud. Very gradually. I had an emotional affair, though I didn't know what that was at the time. I was in an unhappy relationship but not ready to admit I wanted to leave. I started spending time with a coworker and we became instant best friends. There was no initial attraction, we just had a lot of the same interests and the same friends and attended the same social and professional events. As I got to know him, I could hardly believe he was a real person. He was the best person I've ever met, funny, kind, gentle, fun, and respectful. Other than spending too much time with me, he never crossed a line. I fell so hard, but I denied it even harder. I started lying about spending time with this person, even in a group. There were many opportunities for things to turn physical, and even today I marvel at our restraint. We didn't become physical or even admit feelings to each other until after I left my ex. I was angry, after spending 6 years begging my ex to spend time with me or show interest in the things I liked. I had been a dedicated and loyal partner for 6 years, most of which were long distance. I moved to a new city with him, supported his dreams, which he achieved, but at the detriment of our relationship. I was always a side character in his story. So I left him, and like a week later began the most magical love story I could have imagined. I bear the burden of having been dishonest, and I know now that I was wrong. I do regret lying so much and hurting another person. I wish I had been brave enough to leave earlier, although if I had, things might not have worked out the way they did, and I wouldn't risk what I have now for anything, not even the feelings of my ex. I wasn't happy in my marriage. I was traveling for work and was at dinner with someone else who had traveled into the location. We were the last two out and were talking. I asked about her family. She said her husband was an asshole. One thing led to another, and we started an affair for the next 2 years, oh so like George Clooney and Up in the Air. I was bartending one night, she walked into the bar. She was my perfect type. Tall, slender, dark hair, just gorgeous. My first thought was, please be single, please be single. And she sat down next to her husband. They were married about 6 months. He was a Wall Street banker. She was a nurse. I got to talking to them at the bar and we hit it off. Turns out the guy and I had some mutual friends and grew up near the same suburbs outside of Boston. We went to the same college, but I was older than him by 10 years. Same sports fans, etc. We became friends, all three of us. They kinda had a strange relationship. They literally, and I mean literally, didn't have more than 2 or 3 actual friends. I was one of them. We would do lots of things together, not sexual, just friends. She became pregnant and I became the godfather to her child. I was written in their will, and they told me if they both were to die, they wanted me to raise their kid. Both of their families are all fucked up. It's too long of a story to write here, but over the course of 8 years, she and I became close while her husband and I were cordial, but our friendship faded. She and I never cheated. It was an emotional thing. He was distant and dismissive with her feelings, so I kind of became the surrogate boyfriend. She and I would go out to dinner or do other things together, with her kid and without him, and he was fine with it. Even suggested I take his wife and kid on a vacation so he could get a break from being a dad. I loved her. But never crossed the line. Always hoped deep down she would see I was the better guy. Hope that maybe someday she would leave him. During the summer of 2020 she tells me she's divorcing him. She's had enough. I have heard that before. She's claiming she's serious this time. I kind of brush it off. She's hanging out with me much more. She can't stand being in the house with him. This went on for 3 weeks. I started to realize she was serious and she even had a lawyer lined up, but didn't start the proceedings yet. She felt it was bad timing with the beer bug. One morning she's working from home, but at my home because she needed space from her husband, and we get to talking. Where we never crossed the line, I initiated the talk about her actually divorcing. And what her post-life might be. She suggested that I would be the kind of guy she would want to date. That turned into more talking and soon we are having frank discussions about dating each other after she's divorced. This went on for about 2 more weeks. We started to text/FaceTime, talk on the phone more. Physically we weren't cheating, but we were going down that road. One morning she's over before work. As a nurse she was going to the hospital some days, and we are talking some more, and I lean in. She leans towards me. We kiss. We were stone cold sober. It was passionate. Really hot. Lasted only a few minutes. She had to get to work. More talking about life after him. It starts to feel like she's at the tipping point of divorcing. Problem is, her kid. She loves him. He's only 6 years old. Feels super guilty about divorcing her husband and ruining her son's life. She doesn't love her husband, but she loves me, and has told me so, and also loves her son. Also, on paper, she has an amazing life. Her and her husband probably make $500,000 combined income. Net worth of $3 million. It's hard to just walk away from that. I do well enough. But I'm just a bartender. Not some Wall Street banker. I have always been smart with my money. I even own my own home and saved up $700,000 in a Roth IRA over the years. While going through the emotional affair and just kissing each other, it turned into more. Do I feel bad? No. I was under the impression she was just waiting for the beer bug to end and then she was divorcing him. I'm sure lots of people like me have heard that. I knew her for years, and she couldn't be lying to me. No way. The guilt of what we were doing became too much. The affair lasted about 2 months, and we slept with each other only a handful of times. I told her that I didn't want this. It was around Thanksgiving 2020. Get a divorce. Give me a call. That's how I left it. She texted me a bit and even visited me once mid-December. We only talked a bit. She even told me then the plan was to get a divorce. I told her to let me know when it happened, then she ghosted me. Sent an email to her around Christmas. Never heard back. Tried calling her office a week later. Got voicemail. I waited. Weeks turned to months. Never heard a peep from her. We live in the same area of town, never saw her. I didn't push it. I figured with the beer bug still raging in 2021 that a divorce would be by summertime. I found out in April she was pregnant. I never spoke to her. I'm not sure if it was planned or if he suspected and put a bun in the oven. It's December now, and while I know it's over, I'm still hurting over it. Again, I genuinely felt she was leaving him. I know from the outside looking in, this is easy to scoff over. I was her friend for years before we had an affair. We just had a deep, emotional friendship. I get the anger and hate towards people who are in affairs. But when you are the one in the affair, when you are with the person who you waited for your entire life, it's hard to just think, oh, I'll find someone else. I have dated my life and never met anyone like her. I'm not sure if I would ever again, and I just want some kind of closure. I want to just hear from her what happened. I know logically what happened. I was the side piece, and when I put my foot down, she was out. I never thought I would be the type of person to do that. But like I wrote before, it's hard when you meet someone that great in your life. If I was dating hundreds of awesome women, then whatever, but when you are in your mid-40s, the dating pool dwindles down, even for NYC bartenders. Tinder can be rough. You get bot accounts or lots of people who don't even compare to her. Well, that's my story. I was told you're lucky that you have me. If you ever leave me, you'll die alone because no one would want you, so I had this burning desire to prove her wrong. Ended up sleeping with her boss.